Like to call the House Health Committee to order. Will the clerk please open up the board? And will the let's take the roll. Members sign in. Clerk, please take the roll.
Mr. Chairman, you have 16 members present. You have a quorum.
All right, thank you. And before we get going today, we have personal orders. Representative Travis, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I have in the crowd with me today, I have Harold Bo McCauley and his wife, Lujan. Harold is running for District 31 State Representative, which is my seat currently. So if you will just stand up and make them welcome, I would appreciate it.
And you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And also, I have my doctor, which is the doctor of the day, and is going to be the next president of TMA, and we're proud of him. Gene Hufstetter, would you please stand up and be recognized?
All right, thank you. Representative Lane, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My sweet husband has been acting as my driver all week because our car's in the shop. And he is back there. Please welcome him. Most of you know who he is. I'm not going to embarrass him, make him stand up. So.
All right, Chairman Farmer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want everybody to know I've got a good friend here. Hadn't seen him in a while. Kent Emmons is sitting right back there on the second row. Just want to make him feel welcome. Appreciate you being here, Kent.
All right, thank you. All right, we've got Representative Cabley, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I see a friend out in the crowd. Mr. Mark Moore is out there, everybody. Give him a big hand, please. Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no further personal orders, we have a pretty busy calendar today, and I'm going to try to get through the non-committee members here first if we can. So if there's no objection, and you're going to have to bear with me as I go through all my stuff here. We're going to go to item number 5, House Bill 2101. Leader Faison, you are recognized. You have a motion and a second, and I believe, do you have an amendment that's come over from Judiciary? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so it's traveling with the bill. Is that correct? Is that correct? Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So you're in order. You are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very good to be with each one of you today. Many of you know, probably many of you have used this whole idea of having things delivered to your place of residence. It's really, since COVID has kind of taken over America like a storm. When I first moved into the Cumberland, along with Chairman Hicks over there, 8 years ago, you never would see anybody at the front door waiting with a bag of food or a bag of groceries or a bottled water. But nowadays, you can't walk in without somebody pulling in the front. This bill here would simply allow people to buy pseudoephedrine and have it delivered to them. It's the same way it is right now. You can't buy any more than you were supposed to. And the only other change is we put in the original bill something called NPLEX. It's rare that we actually mention the name of a business. We're taking away that name, and it's just going to be tracking who buys what. It's the same way we do right now when you walk into Walgreens. They take your driver's license and you're into a database that you have bought pseudoephedrine. And that's all this bill does.
All right. Do we have any questions for the sponsor of the bill? All right. Seeing none, will the clerk please open the board for a vote? All those in favor vote aye. Opposed, vote no. All right, will the clerk please take the vote?
Mr. Chairman, you have 19 ayes, 0 nays.
All right, House Bill 2101 passes and moves on to calendar and rules as amended. All right, and, okay. And we have item number 6. Again, Leader Faison, House Bill 2278, you have a motion and a second. And are there 2 amendments on this one?
I'm bringing one, and I think the committee has one.
Okay, you do have an amendment, drafting code 015525, is that correct?
That is my amendment. It writes the bill, sir.
Okay, can I get a motion? You have a motion and a second. If there's no objections, go ahead and get that on the bill. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. We're on the bills amended. You're recognized. No. Do you want to present your bill, or would you like the other amendment?
I'm at your pleasure, Mr. Chair.
Let's have you present the bill
Okay.
first, and then we have another amendment that we'll consider.
Thank you. Chairman, committee, certainly good to be with you. In the last decade, East Tennessee kind of saw on the horizon the issues that we have with healthcare. We saw on the horizon that we were going to struggle with our acute care places. And so East Tennessee got together, worked with the federal government, worked with local government, and worked with state government, and came up with a COPA. COPA means Certificate of Public Advantage. And in 2017, the legislature passed a bill that created kind of the mother of all CONs for a region in Northeast Tennessee. And that COPA had an enormous amount of regulation and oversight to make sure that the hospitals and all the health facilities that were involved inside of the boundaries of that COPA were making sure that people were taken care of. Moving forward in East Tennessee, we see the writing on the wall, and we know that the CON is going to great potential of it being dissolved this year. For the ballot health system, which is what the COPA is contained in, we feel like that would put them at a really unfair advantage and have them hemmed in. So this bill simply just removes the COPA, takes the regulation away from the oversight board and puts the regulation under the Attorney General. And that's the long and short of what the bill does.
All right. Representative, or Chairman Williams, you're recognized.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Leader Faison, for this bill, or Chairman Faison, I guess I should say, for this bill. I think it's really important. We saw another member had a bill earlier in the year that would do exactly this, and the caption of the bill or constitutionality wouldn't provide for it. I think this is really important. As I said in that committee, this bill would allow for to reestablish the norm that was up there prior to the COPA revision that we made. So I just want to say thank you for this bill. I appreciate you working diligently on it.
All right. Thank you. And do we have any Representative Hicks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Chairman Faison, for bringing this bill. This legislation sort of sets a clear end to COPA, the structure in 2028, which is something that Northeast Tennessee especially is in dire need of. It removes, it puts a temporary guardrail on pricing that goes to the Attorney General while the market can adjust when new providers enters the market. But the bigger point is government has been too involved in healthcare decisions for the people of Northeast Tennessee. And this bill begins to step that back. And I think that's extremely important. It moves us toward a system of more competition, more accountability, and better options for patients. And without putting families at risk during this transition. So I thank you for the bill. It's extremely important in Northeast Tennessee. So thank you, Chairman.
All right. Chairman Clemens, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you speak to the extension of the pricing restrictions and the necessity for that?
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. would you kind of drill down on exactly what you're asking? Expand a little bit more on what you're hoping to hear.
Chairman Clens?
The purpose for the pricing restrictions that are currently in place, and you're going to extend them for 5 years after this. So what's the purpose for that?
Thank you.
You recognize?
So when you have a healthcare system that is basically got a monopoly on that area and there's no competition that can come in, this makes it to where those pricing restrictions, we did that to make sure that they would not be price gouging. When you don't have competition, you can run amok and there's nowhere else anybody can go unless they go out of that whole region. So that's what we're doing. And as we move forward, we're making sure that they've committed to the same thing so they won't be price gouging.
Chairman Clemens?
Never mind. Just thank you.
Thank you. We do have an amendment from a member of the committee, amendment from Representative Hill, drafting code 016760. You have a motion, a second. You are recognized on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This amendment goes to the other side of the equation. And this is something that I believe that the Upper East delegation has heard consistently, which is as we do away with the COPA, which I am in full support of and appreciate Chairman Faison's work and the entire delegation's work. But if we do away with the COPA, we need to also dissolve the CON requirements, the certificate of need requirements on acute care, which is basically, if you will, hospitals, because we are removing oversight and removing requirements on one side of the equation where the COPA stood, but we also need to interject competition into the marketplace at the same time. And so what this amendment does is it allows for the certificate of need to dissolve on acute care at the same time and concurrent with the timing of the COPA. So that way, there's no head start or there's no disparity between the timing of eliminating the COPA as well as introducing competition into the Upper East. This only applies to the footprint of the COPA. It does not apply statewide, but it is housed inside of the COPA. And so pending any questions, Mr. Chairman, I seek passage.
All right. Thank you. And we have a few folks that want to ask a question. Chairman Williams, you recognize?
Thank you. Representative Hill, just a clarification from what you said. Does this, there was a bill that came through here for the matter of fact, the one that we had earlier in the year where we tried to put the COPA language on there, it didn't work. That bill would remove or move CON to licensure in 2030. Your amendment, does it, if you could clarify, does it move CON to licensure in 2028 for that region? It's not, just not to mince words, but I guess they matter. It's not a repeal of the CON. It's just a move like we've done in the phase out the original plan 2 years ago to phase out different ones over the years to licensure. This would be moving also CON to licensure.
You are recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. That's correct.
You recognize?
Thank you. Just as a follow-up, this year we rolled out the first phase, the Health Facilities Commission rolled out the first phase of that phasing out of CON. Sounds like they didn't have very many problems. Have you talked to them about what the challenge would be for a partial phase out of CON to licensure for just this one regional area whenever in the future you'd have another, for lack of better terms, the remainder of the state would go to licensure? Does that give you any pause or concern at all?
You recognize?
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you for the question. It doesn't give me pause. I think the Health Facilities Commission is prepared to deal with any of those applications for licensure. But I think more importantly, what we're saying to the region that we put under the COPA for that period in time, for that 10 years, is we say, both sides of the equation matter, which is the competition side as well as releasing the healthcare system from those requirements that were put in place by this body. And so my perspective is that the Health Facilities Commission should be ready to go but I'm happy to visit with them and make sure that they're properly equipped, but that's what they do. So they should be ready to go by the time we get to 28.
Thank you, Chairman. Just as a final comment, I'm with you. Obviously, I think it's very important for these to go together for the purposes which you described earlier. My question to you is if there was an attempt to move Siouxland across the state and use this as for all Siouxland from 30 to 28, is that something that you hope to try to do or wish to try to do with this bill later?
You recognize?
Thank you, Chairman. Well, my intent is with the amendment as written. It's going to become Chairman Faison's bill beyond here, but that is my intent. We're talking about two very large concepts. On one hand, you've got the very large CON bill that has come through that's been heavily negotiated and planned and all those things. That's not what we're speaking to in this legislation, with this amendment. With this amendment, we are speaking to the region that the COPA affected. And as we dissolve the COPA, we want to also introduce competition in the same space, in that same area. They're two separate bills, two separate concepts, and I'm supportive of this amendment. And in the past, and as we get to the bill on the floor, I'm going to be supportive of that bill. So they're not the same.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you.
Representative Hicks, you recognize?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Chairman Hill. The people of Northeast Tennessee really thanks you for this amendment. This amendment, it strengthens the bill by making it absolutely clear that when COPA ends, government does not stand in the way of new healthcare options for Northeast Tennessee. It ensures that both healthcare facilities and services in our region are no longer subject to a certificate of need or COPA. No loopholes, no delays, just clear path for new providers to serve the patients. That means more access, more competition, and better outcomes for people of Northeast Tennessee. And just as important, it reflects a simple principle. Government should not be a barrier between patients and the care. So I thank you for the amendment. It's extremely important. Moving forward, this is something that we have talked about numerous times as legislators from Northeast Tennessee since I've been here. And it's exciting to know that we can make this work in Northeast Tennessee and get government out of the way and let the free market open up and be a better place to live in Northeast Tennessee. So I thank you for the amendment. Thank you, Chairman.
All right, thank you. Any comments, Representative Hill? All right, seeing none, will the clerk please open up the board for vote on Amendment 016760. All those in favor vote aye. Those opposed vote no. The clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 19 ayes, 0 nays.
Amendment 016760 passes and is on the bill. We are back on the bills amended. Lear, you recognize?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I want to bring a little bit of clarity. I don't think the gentleman from Johnson County meant to say that, but he said something that was important. It's on the record. I want to make sure we go back. He said that we're removing oversight by getting rid of this COPA. I want you to understand that's not true. We are not removing oversight. As a matter of fact, I think there would be a strong argument to be made that the oversight provided from the Attorney General's office will be greater than the oversight that was provided from the board at COPA. So I just want to clarify that.
All right. Thank you. Representative Hill, you recognize?
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Chairman. The clarification should be shifting oversight, not eliminating.
Right.
Thank you.
Chairman Clemens, you recognize?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So my question is anything we've done here or this new amendment we put on this bill conflict with the CON bill that was recently passed in any way or create any hurdles for that CON bill that I know has been moving on for years and finally moved through? So
You're recognized.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative Clemens. No, this will have zero impact. As a matter of fact, the specifics of this bill keep everything in this language, including that amendment that just got adopted, to the boundaries of what the original COPA was that we passed in 2017, and nothing outside of that.
Chairman Clements? All right. All right, seeing no further questions for the sponsor of the bill, we are going to be voting on House Bill 2278. Will the clerk please open up the board for the vote? All those in favor vote aye, opposed vote no. Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 19 ayes, 0 nays.
All right, House Bill 2278 passes and moves on to calendar and rules as amended.
Thank you.
And would the legal services please roll those two amendments to one? All right, that brings us, let's go to item number 11, House Bill 2246. Representative Hurt, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I do have an amendment.
Okay. Did I have a motion, a second on the bill? Okay, and on the amendment, I have a motion and a second on amendment. Let's see, drafting code. Which one are we going with?
Mr. Chair, to be 016888.
Okay, 016888. All right, we had a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. We're on the bills amended. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Committee. This legislation, as amended, has been worked on collaboratively with several different stem cell therapy practices across the state, the Tennessee Medical Association, as well as Vanderbilt. Stem cell therapy is at the forefront of modern medicine. The practice uses living stem cells to treat a growing number of diseases, injuries, and disorders. Stem cell therapy is also unregulated in the state of Tennessee. This bill creates guardrails both for ethical and medical reasons to protect patients and ensure that stem cell therapy practiced in Tennessee is held to the highest standards. This includes things like prohibitions on the use of embryos from aborted fetuses, cell viability reporting requirements, safety measures for storage, and FDA and CLIA regulatory requirements. As amended, this bill ensures that people in Tennessee have access to safe, effective, and transparent treatment. With that, Mr. Chair, I'll take questions.
All right, Chairman Martin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Representative Hurt, for bringing this, and thank you to Representative Lynn for you guys working together collaboratively and make sure this was a great bill moving forward. So on behalf of my committee that was on, I thank you for that, and I look forward to voting for this. Thank you.
All right, thank you guys. Any further questions for the sponsor of the bill? Seeing none, will the clerk please open up the board for the vote? All those in favor vote aye, opposed vote no. The clerk please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 19 ayes, 0 nays.
All right, House Bill 2246 passes and moves on to government operations as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Committee.
All right, thank you. That brings us to item number 12, House Bill 2404. By Representative Scarborough, you are recognized. You have a motion, a second, and let's see. And we do have an amendment. Is that correct? Is that correct?
13828 travels with it.
Did this come?
It came from sub. It doesn't.
So it does not travel with. So 013828. Okay, a motion is second. Okay, if there's no objection, let's go ahead and vote and put that on there. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. On the bills amended, you're recognized.
We currently have 3 members appointed to the Cannabis Commission. This would actually ensure that 1 will be from the Prevention Alliance of Tennessee, 3 candidates that they will submit to the speaker. With that, I'll stand by for questions.
All right. Do we have any questions for the sponsor of the bill? All right. Seeing none, will the clerk please open the board for a vote? All those in favor vote aye. Opposed vote no. please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 18 ayes, 0 nays.
All right, House Bill 2404 passes and moves on to government operations as amended.
Thank you, Chairman. Thanks, committee.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to item number 13, House Bill 2398 by Representative Stinnett. You have a motion and a second, and let's see, which, okay, we're going with, you have amendment drafting code 013660, is that correct?
Yes, sir, Chairman.
Okay, you have a motion and a second. Okay, if there's no objection, let's go ahead and get that on the bill. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. We're back on the bill as amended. You're recognized.
Chairman, Bill 2398, it's real simple. It's in the state of Tennessee, you have to be 18 years of age to work in a child care center. And this bill just changes the age from 18 to 16, which allows high school students in work-based learning have the opportunity to see if this is the career they'd like to undertake, and also help in the fact that we have a shortage of people working in those fields. I stand for questions.
All right, thank you. Do we have any questions for the sponsor of the bill? All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and will clerk please open the board for the vote on House Bill 2398. All those in favor vote aye, opposed vote no. Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 19 ayes, 0 nays.
All right, House Bill 2398 passes and moves on to government operations as amended.
Thank you, Chairman. Committee.
Thank you. That brings us to item number 14. By Representative Chisholm. House Bill 1369, and let's see. We do have an amendment. I believe it's drafting code 016074. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, you have a motion and a second. If there's no objections, go ahead and get that on the bill. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Amendment passes. You are on the bills amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. House Bill 1369, it requires the Department of Health in collaboration with the Department of Human Services to make available and require educational materials on blood lead level testing for pregnant women who receive vouchers for the special supplemental food program for women, infants, and children. It requires the Department of Health to provide such women educational information on specialized nutritional services, education on how to mitigate lead in the body, and other existing wraparound services tailored for people with elevated blood lead level or lead poisoning. With that, I stand by for your consideration.
All right. Do we have any questions for the sponsor of the bill? All right. Seeing none, will the clerk please open up the board for a vote? All those in favor vote aye, opposed vote no. All right. Will clerk please take the vote?
Mr. Chairman, you have 17 ayes, 0 nays, 1 present not voting.
All right. House Bill 1969 passes and moves on to education as amended.
Thank you, Chairman and committee.
All right, that brings us to item number 15, House Bill 1917 by Representative Freeman. You have a motion and a second. And are there 2 amendments? Okay. There are 2 amendments, I believe. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. First one rewrites the bill, drafting code 014334. Is that correct?
4334. Yes, that's
Okay.
correct. Yes, sir.
Okay, can I get a motion on the amendment? Okay, motion second. If there's no objection, let's go ahead and get that on the bill. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, and you have a second amendment that
Drafting code 16829.
I have can I get a motion and a second on that? You have a motion second on that. And if there's no objection, let's go ahead and get that on there. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, you're on the bills amended. You're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman and committee. The last amendment changes the date. This takes effect to January 1st, 27, except for the promise of promulgating rules, it takes effect upon passage. This amendment updates Tennessee's counseling licensure by clearly distinguishing between limited practice professional counselors and licensed professional counselors. And with that, I stand ready to answer any questions.
All right. Do we have any questions for the sponsor of the bill? All right, seeing none, will the clerk please open the board for the vote? All those in favor vote aye, opposed vote no. All right, will the clerk please take the vote?
Mr. Chairman, you have 19 ayes, 0 nays.
All right, House Bill 1970 passes and moves on to government operations as amended.
Thank you, Chairman and committee.
And would the legal services please roll those two amendments into one amendment? All right, that brings us to item number 16, House Bill 2110. Representative Boyd, you are recognized, and I believe you have an amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have an amendment. I'm showing drafting code 015684.
015684. You have a motion and a second. If there's no objection, let's go ahead and get that on the bill. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, ayes have it. On the bill as amended, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. House Bill 2110 is a cleanup bill that deals with the Health Facilities Commission. It does a few things, but a few notable things is it brings the procedures and authority of the Health Facilities Commission in line with other health-related boards. It transfers the duty of critical access hospitals from Department of Health to the Health Facilities Commission, and it will expedite data returns for CON applicants. Mr. Chairman, renew my motion.
All right, thank you. Do we have any questions for the sponsor of the bill? All right, seeing none, will the clerk please open up the board for a vote? All those in favor vote aye, opposed vote no. Will the clerk please take the vote?
Mr. Chairman, you have 20 ayes, 0 nays.
All right, House Bill 2110 passes and moves on to Finance, Ways and Means as amended.
Thank you, Chairman and committee.
All right, thank you. That, I believe that is everybody that is not on the committee, so we can go back to the start of the calendar. Item number 1, House Bill 2539. I believe, Chairman Kumar, you have a motion and a second, and which amendment are we going with? Going with, okay, are we going with 016846?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. All right, I need a motion on the amendment. I give a motion, a second on the amendment. Okay, if there's no objection, let's go ahead and get that on the bill. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, ayes have it. Okay, we're 016846. Is that not?
I do have a note from the administration saying that.
Okay. Would you please explain the amendment? Okay, it should be on the dashboard now. Chairman Kumar, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an administration bill, also called the CORE Act, that stands for Consolidation of Regulatory Efficiency. This legislation is designed to streamline and modernize licensure operations for various healthcare professions in the state. This is accomplished in 3 ways. First, it creates the agency of commissioner-issued licenses for 8 of the currently existing healthcare boards. Secondly, it rearranges and sunsets 7 boards that would be best served in a different configuration. And it also gives the Commissioner of Health the ability to promulgate rules when a board fails to do their own. This legislation will remove unnecessary delays and red tape. With that, the Department of Health is available for difficult questions.
Okay. Chairman Clemens, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have the amendment we just adopted, so I'm just going to assume it's similar to what's already in here. Are we essentially taking licensure away from these specialty-driven boards with people who specialize in these areas of practice and put them under one generic board who's going to issue licenses to everyone?
You recognize.
Yes, in a way it is, but on that special board, all these professions will be represented. The numbers would not be as large as they are now.
Chairman Clemens.
So my concern is we took all these, we created this Health Facilities Commission where we had like one organization take a job that used to be under the Department of Health and make it responsible for all these different things for which it had no qualifications whatsoever. And so I'm concerned that we're taking the specialty driven nature of these boards and putting them in one generic organization that I guess may have one individual from each practice. I don't know if it's one or more, but is it going to be qualified to actually handle the licensure? I mean, convenience for convenience sake is great. Efficiency for efficiency's sake is great, but not necessarily good government. Is this going to be qualified to handle the licensure for these professions? Because these are pretty serious professions.
You are recognized.
Mr. Representative, I understand your question, and I think it's a legitimate question. It will be good for the Department of Health, who developed and are going to enforce this regulation, to come and answer. Mr. Chairman, I request we go out of session and invite the department to come and justify their action.
All right. Thank you. Without objection, we will go out of session and invite up Department of Health. For the record, name and who you're with.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Grayson Carter. I'm the Assistant Commissioner of Legislative Affairs for the department. Just to clarify, so you have two parts to a board. You have the board members who are appointed by the governor's office, and then you have the administrative side, which are all Department of Health staff. So they're the ones processing applications, looking at complaints, conducting investigations, giving recommendations of discipline. Under this commissioner-run agency, the administrative side stays the same. And currently, as it operates, those who look at the applications, look at complaints, are licensees of the profession. So they're board consultants, and they're all licensed. So if it's Board of Medical Examiners, they're an MD. If it's physical therapists, they're a physical therapist. So what this is doing is expanding the number of those consultants that handle that day-to-day work of going through applications. The big thing we looked at, obviously it's in the name, but efficiency. So if a board fails to meet a quorum, then they can't conduct business. If they're meeting biannually, that means they have to wait 6 months in order, if there's an issue with an application or something doesn't line up, they have to wait that 6 months in order to go before the board. If it's a disciplinary matter, then it's delaying their time to get their day in court, so to speak. So the boards themselves still exist, but it's just the board members are going away and would fall under this commissioner-run agency.
Chairman Clemens.
So the board members are going away, but the board still exists?
Yes, like I said, there are two parts. So you have the board members.
I
and the
know
board
how it's
staff,
structured,
so,
but you have the
correct.
licensure administrative side, and then you have the board members. They look at appeals of licensure. They look at a whole bunch of different things, disciplinary action. I've served on one of those boards. So if you take them away out of the equation, those board members out of the equation, you're just left with the administrative staff. Who's going to handle those revocations, disciplinary actions, all that stuff when licensure comes into question after the initial phase?
Right. So as I mentioned previously, the consultants, they get with, if there's an investigation, a complaint, possible disciplinary action, that consultant gets with the board attorney. They talk it out, and then they give a recommendation to the board. And I would say 95 to 98% of the time, the board goes along with what that consultant says. Obviously, they still have their rights to appeal and be heard in front of an administrative law judge instead of it being decided by the board members themselves.
Who are going away.
Yes.
Do you not see the confusion?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, any further questions while we are out of session? All right, seeing none, we will go back into session. Okay, any further questions for the sponsor of the bill? All right, seeing none, will the clerk please open the board for vote? All those in favor vote aye, opposed vote no. Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 18 ayes, 3 nays, 0 present, not voting.
All right, House Bill 2539 passes and moves on to government operations as amended. All right, I'm going to pass the gavel over here to Chairman Leatherwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This brings us to item number 2, House Bill 2562. Do I have a motion and a second? Have a motion and a second. Chairman Terry, you are recognized on House Bill 2562.
Yeah, I have 2 amendments. One, the first one drafting code 16930, and that makes the bill.
And we've got that. Motion on the amendment. Second. All those in favor of Amendment 016930 say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Amendments on the bill, and you've got a second one.
Yes, this is untimely filed, so we'll have to vote to consider it. It is drafting code 017032, and it just changes the enacting date.
Okay, all those in favor of considering this amendment indicate by saying aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. We will consider your amendment.
Okay, it just,
Considering.
Motion and second. Any questions on the amendment? Seeing none.
Vote to adopt the amendment.
Yeah. All those in favor of adopting the amendment indicate by saying aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. And I think we've got your bill in the shape you would like to see it now.
all right, thank you. This administration bill, and what we're doing here is ensuring that our physicians have a baseline knowledge of nutrition by providing and requiring 1 hour of continuing medical education on nutrition.
Okay, any questions of the sponsor? Question on the bill. We will be voting on House Bill 2562 as amended. Would the clerk please open up the vote? Every member vote. Anybody want to change their vote? Okay, clerk, would you please take the vote?
Mr. Chairman, you have 21 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you. And with that, the ayes have it, and House Bill 2562 will be moving on to calendar and rules. All right, this brings us to item number 3 and House Bill 1905. Do I have a motion? Motion and a second. Chairman Terry, you are recognized.
Thank you. And then there is an amendment drafting code 014088. And yeah.
Have a motion and a second on the amendment. All those in favor of placing the amendment on the bill indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment goes on the bill. It's now properly before us for a description.
All right, thank you. And House Bill 1905 is the Tennessee Nursing Education Integrity and Oversight Act, and it addresses an important issue affecting healthcare quality and patient safety in our state. The legislation was brought to me by the Nurses Association as they have seen a growing number of out-of-state nursing programs placing students in Tennessee clinical sites which appear to not have sufficient oversight, standardized reporting, or clear accountability mechanisms. So in order to ensure that our clinical sites are accepting quality students meeting Tennessee standards, this legislation is establishing a temporary 2-year moratorium on the new approvals of out-of-state nursing programs seeking to operate or place students in Tennessee. During that time, the Tennessee Center of Nursing Advancement and the Board of Nursing will develop improved standards, reporting requirements, and oversight mechanisms. The existing approved programs are not paused, but they will be subject to the enhanced reporting. And the goal is not to limit workforce growth. It's to ensure quality, transparency, and patient safety.
Any questions of the sponsor? Okay, seeing none, questions called. Without objection, we're voting. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Chairman Clemens, do you have a question?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was curious whether any concerns have been raised about interstate commerce or other legal questions about this legislation.
Chairman Terry?
I have not been asked or had any of those brought up to me at all.
Chairman Clemens?
All right, thank you.
Any other questions of the sponsor? Seeing none, then without objection, we're going to be voting on House Bill 1905. Madam Clerk, please open up the vote. All those in favor, vote aye. Any opposed? Has every member voted? Any member want to change their vote? Madam Clerk, would you take the vote?
Mr. Chairman, you have 19 ayes, 1 nay, 0 present not voting.
All right, the ayes have it, and the bill moves on to calendar and rules. Okay. Now this brings us up to item 4. Item 4 on the calendar. Do I have a motion and a second? Okay. Chairman Terry, you are recognized on House Bill 2136.
Thank you, Chairman Committee. I believe there's an amendment to drafting code 016270.
That's what we've got. We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor of placing the amendment on the bill, say aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The bill is now amended, and you are recognized on the bill as amended.
Thank you, Chairman Committee. As of today, when a new medication is approved and scheduled at the federal level, our patients must await a regulatory process in Tennessee that delays their ability to obtain a new medication. This process can take months when the majority of other states, 35 to 40 of other states, allow for direct alignment with federal scheduling. Currently, when the FDA approves a new medication and the DA schedules it, Tennessee law often requires a manual update to our state's controlled substance schedules, a process that can take months or even a full legislative cycle, which delays treatment to our patients. This bill refines Tennessee's existing conformity process to ensure patients aren't left in regulatory limbo. While state law already directs our agencies to mirror federal drug scheduling, the current administrative procedure creates an unintended treatment gap for certain FDA-approved medications. This legislation simply closes that gap, ensures that once a life-saving therapy is deemed safe and effective by federal authorities, Tennessee providers can immediately deliver it to their patients without the burden of redundant tape. There is still a process by which mental health and substance abuse can change that schedule, much like pulling a bill off of a consent calendar, and mental health and substance abuse is neutral and helped with the language.
Do we have any questions of the sponsor? Seeing none, without objection, we'll be voting on House Bill 2136. Would clerk please open the vote? All those in favor vote aye. Opposed, no. Has every member voted? Anybody want to change their vote? Would the clerk please take the vote?
Mr. Chairman, you have 20 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you. The ayes have it. And House Bill 2136 will be moving to Judiciary Committee. As amended. Okay. Now we have some people who would like to testify on House on item number 24, House Bill 2075. So we're going to take this bill out of order at this point. Do I have a motion and a second? Have a motion and a second. So Chairman Terry, you are recognized on House Bill 2075.
All right, thank you. I think we've already adopted Amendment 15487, but I do have a second amendment, 16878, and that just makes clear that there's no funds appropriated to it.
Do I have a motion and a second? All those in favor of the amendment going on the bill, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. The bill is now before us as amended. Chairman Terry.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman and committee. Tennessee currently ranks number one in the nation for opioid use disorder diagnosis rate. And we're not just a little above average, we are triple the national average. Our state is home to over 400,000 veterans, and sadly, we rank 7 in veteran overdose deaths. We have a rapidly growing VA patient load with a significant number of those visits driven by the invisible wounds of PTSD and traumatic brain injury. Furthermore, Tennessee ranks among the worst in the nation in maternal mortality. 2 of those leading causes of these tragic losses are mental health conditions and substance or opioid use disorder. Tennessee needs solutions, not more statistics. Ibogaine treatment offers a potential solution. And so you may ask, why not just wait for the traditional FDA DEA method? For a new medication to navigate this standard 3 phases of FDA trials and DEA approval, it typically requires $500 million, 10 years, and thousands of patients. Because Ibogaine is a naturally occurring plant, it cannot be patented. This means that traditional drug manufacturers may not be motivated to invest the capital required for the research and development. So if we want this solution, we need to provide a leadership motive. And there is a better way, and it still remains within the FDA framework while cutting through the red tape, and it's called Breakthrough Therapy Designation. And this status is granted when a new medication shows that it's safe, effective, and significantly better than existing therapies. We already have a safe protocol for Ibogaine used in other countries. And we know from a 2024 Stanford study that it can lead to an 80% reduction in PTSD symptoms for veterans. So we also know that our current tools like methadone and buprenorphine have significant dropout and relapse rates. So more of the same strategy is not a viable strategy. By passing the Hope Treatment Act, Tennessee plans to join a multi-state consortium. This will allow us to share data, pool resources, and replicate and expedite these necessary phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 trials to secure that breakthrough therapy designation status. Tennessee is currently ground zero for patients in need, and that is a heavy burden. But it also means that Tennessee is an indispensable data point for the FDA and for these type of trials. We have the most critical data in the world, and we should be the ones leading the world toward the cure. We can stand for our patients and our veterans. We can find solutions. We don't need more statistics, and there is someone here to testify and can answer some questions.
Okay, without objection, we'll go out of out of session to hear testimony. Would Sean Ryan and then Ricky Harris, if she'd like to come up, and Lawrence, if they would like to come up for any potential questions, then for the record, please give your name and who you're with. And Sean, you will have 3 minutes. And you want to turn on this? There you go.
Chairman, representatives, thank you for having us. My name's Sean Ryan. A little background on me. I spent 6 years in the SEAL teams, spent about 9 years contracting for CIA, and now I have a pretty decent sized podcast, and I'm a huge advocate for Ibogaine. So I think everybody in this room has probably been affected by opiates. Somebody you know, maybe yourself, have struggled with addiction. And, you know, when I left contracting for the CIA, I left with my best friend. His name was Gabe Bacardi. And he had a terrible addiction to heroin and fentanyl. I spent 2 years of my life, I put my whole life on hold, my business on hold, everything on hold to try to save his life and help him with recovery from his addiction. Was unsuccessful. He died, left about a 6-month-old daughter behind and a fiance and another broken home. And so fast forward, I've struggled a lot with addiction since I left contracting and the SEAL teams. I struggled with cocaine, alcohol, opiates, sleeping pills, benzos, Adderall, you name it, I was on it. About 3 years ago, I started getting friends who would come on my podcast and they would tell me about this stuff, Ibogaine, that's hit the news that we're talking about today. And they talked about the benefits from the therapy that they did. And I thought it was woo-woo at the beginning. I didn't want any part of it. I thought this was for hippies. This isn't going to work. And I couldn't have been more wrong. So PTSD started flaring up again. TBI started flaring up again. Addiction started flaring up again. I had a 6-month-old son at home, my first son, and I decided to take a drastic step and go to Mexico to do the Ibogaine treatment. And I was pleasantly surprised at the benefits that it gave me. I went down, like I said, to be a better husband, a better father, a present husband and father, not absent. And what I received was a lot more than just that. I have not had any booze. I've not had any cocaine. I've not had any Adderall. I've not had any sleeping pills. I've not had any benzos, antidepressants, anything in over 3 years. And I did that treatment one time. So I started talking about it on my podcast, and it got a lot of traction, and a lot of veterans, police officers, first responders started going to get the treatment. And turns out that many of them, almost all of them, have had the exact same experience that I have. I've lost a lot more friends to suicide and opiate addiction than I ever have in combat. This is helping guys that have spent 20 plus years, 30 plus years in the SEAL teams, at SEAL Team 6, at Delta, at 5th Group, the Green Berets, Navy SEALs, Rangers, Marine Reconnaissance, MARSOC, Air Force CCT, all these guys that took the brunt of the war for 20 plus years are finding healing through Ibogaine therapy.
Thank you.
It's changing their lives. I'm tired of watching my friends die. I'm tired of watching them kill themselves. This helps.
Thank you for that testimony. Do we have any questions to our guest chairman, Kumar?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for coming to testify. It takes a lot of courage to reveal so much about yourself, but it's a remarkable experience. Tell us about the treatment. Was it a single dose?
Yeah, it was a single dose, and it's under very extensive medical oversight. You're hooked up to an EKG. There are some potential cardiac problems, but you are connected to an EKG, so they monitor you the entire time. It's about a 12-hour experience. It's something that nobody is going to want to do recreationally. I can attest to that. It's not a fun experience, and you can't walk, you're vomiting, and that carries on for about 48 hours. So But yes, you are under extensive medical care and supervision.
And where was that treatment given? In which facility? Was it in the United States?
No, that was in Mexico.
Okay. And so you had an acute reaction. You were sickly for a few days.
Yes,
Did you have mental clarity? How did you feel?
I had mental clarity. I was present with my son, present with my wife. Addictions, it wasn't even an effort to kick those addictions. It was a byproduct. It's not why I went down there. So what Ibogaine does, it actually replenishes the receptors in your brain that take the cravings and the urge to use again away. It's effortless.
So that treatment has lasted you for 3 years plus.
Yes, sir.
Do you know if repeat treatment is expected, or what is expected in future? Would you need another treatment?
That is up to the individual. For me, I haven't needed another treatment. One was enough. Some of my friends have gone back for a second treatment.
Well, thank you. You have done you've had a remarkable result, and thank you for sharing it with us, and God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Capley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. John, I just want to thank you for your service to our country. It's just a great honor to have you here. After the treatment, would you say, was it an immediate effect, or could you feel it gradually changing, or, after the 48 hours? What was that like?
Both. So you'll get an immediate effect, but one thing that is really important about this medication is reintegration. And so you'll work with licensed therapists to reintegrate. And so, yes, you get an immediate effect. Like I said, there was no cravings for any drugs, any alcohol, anything. I was immediately present. I became more focused in my business. I became a more productive member of society, and all of that was more of a gradual effect.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Chairman Williams.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony today. Thank you for your service too. I just, obviously, I don't know if you experienced, but I have lots of friends that are special operators that have suffered from traumatic brain injuries. And maybe you have as well. I just wondered, has there been any evaluation at all from people who experience TBIs, and whether the healing that you have experienced through this process is similar, even with someone who may have had a TBI?
Yes, there have been studies. Stanford did a study. One of the guys that was in the study is actually in this room. I think he had a 30-year career over at SEAL Team 6. And so what they would do is they would fly to Stanford. They would get a brain scan, and the brain scan would show these black splotches in their brains where the brain's not functioning. They would then fly to Mexico, do the treatment. I think 2 days after the treatment, they would fly back to Stanford, redo the brain scan, and I believe in almost every, I think, is it 75%? The entire brain was lit up, functioning properly. And if you hear some of these other experiences, I mean, a lot of, when it comes to traumatic brain injury and PTS and addiction to adrenaline, a lot of guys are, they'll go out in town, they don't remember why they're out there. They walk into a room, they don't know what they're doing in there. And this is immediate clarity.
Yeah, thank you. It's unusual, I think, to think not just those struggling with addiction and things like that, but those struggling with the repercussions of the fight, I guess you would say. And so I appreciate that. I guess if the treatment was 48 hours, how long after that 48 hours did you have to remain in Mexico? If they were coming back to scan, my assumption is you didn't have to stay there very long. But the therapy after that, about how long and how often, I guess, would you need to meet with a therapist in order to do that? And is that considered part of the treatment, or is that more of a follow-up?
That is considered part of the treatment. I think you even signed paperwork saying that you'll follow through with that. But if I remember correctly, I met with my therapist every day for a week and then once a week for maybe a few more months.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks again for your service.
Thank you, Chairman White.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for your testimony today. Just to kind of another question, a thought process. Since Ibogaine, and I understand the 48 hours and all the side effects and things, but has there any research going on since Ibogaine deals with reconnective tissue, the white matter in the brain, which is the wiring part of your brain, connectivity? Is there any research going on for like memory loss in elderly people, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's? Is there anything going on to the extent of that field?
I know there is research going on in that. I think Ricky would know more about that than myself.
Yes, there are studies now happening preliminarily. They're looking at any neurological disorder, inclusive of ALS, Parkinson's, dementia, Alzheimer's.
Thank you.
Representative Lynn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sean Ryan, I just want to say hello. I watch your podcast from time to time. Not a subscriber. I will though now. But my question is, how much approximately does the treatment cost? It sounds like it's a facility that it sounds like they have a very nice protocol laid out that people follow. It sounds like the therapists, certainly they need some sort of training and things like that. So how much typically is the treatment, just out of curiosity?
When I went, the treatment was, I believe it was $8,000. That doesn't include travel, but it's a lot cheaper than that. I mean, you're there at a facility in a house for a week in preparation for that. So you go, you get in on a Sunday, you spend the night, and then Monday you start you start the process. You have therapy sessions where they, kind of talk about what the experience is going to be like, what your intentions are a big thing with this, what do you want to get out of it, and they coach you through all of that. Then you take the Ibogaine on a Wednesday, Thursday you're out, Friday is kind of a relaxed day, and then you fly home on the next Saturday. So that covers your food, that covers a week-long stay.
Do we have any other questions of our guests? Seeing none, thank you so much for your service to our country, your testimony to this committee. And without objection, we will go back in session. Thank you. Chairman Terry, you are recognized.
I just ask for your support. We lead in statistics. We need to lead in solutions. This will allow us to work with qualified Tennessee academic medical centers and join a multi-state consortium to conduct these trials. These will have strong safety standards, including physician supervision, and it will be in compliance with the FDA investigational new drug authorization.
Thank you. Chairman Clemens, you're recognized.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And my question is for the sponsor. It seems like I'm no fan of the FDA process. It is long and expensive, and it takes a while to get cures to the market in a lot of ways, but it does require a lot of R&D and so forth. And we seem to be taking another approach to this, which is fine. But have we done this ever before for any other type of treatment for anything?
Thank you. I believe there have been other consortiums, but I can get that answer to you, but I believe this has been done for other drugs, but I'm not sure to this extent and this organized.
And so I guess my question then is why this? This has been pitched and as a miracle cure, which if it is, that's fantastic. I hope so. And then it's been told me that it's not a miracle cure. I guess I'm just trying to figure out, why are we going to this link for this particular treatment versus anything else in the past?
So great question. And I think from the state of Tennessee, obviously we have, like I said, we're leading the nation at opioid use disorder diagnosis. We have, with all our veterans and the traumatic brain injury and the PTSD, I mean, we have failed our veterans that go off and fight for our freedom and our liberties. And, we have them going to other countries, and they're, paying out of pocket, and either they can, have their friends that have fought side by side with them, their brothers in arms, that commit suicide or don't find treatment or just go down that route. And, when you look at trials, it first starts with, opinion and, well, somebody's done this and it's helped. And then you go to the next, maybe a case study. And then we've done observational studies. The Stanford trial, the Mystic trial, is an observational study. And so those are things that oftentimes you do in that early phases of the FDA trials, phase one of those trials. But, this is a plant. You can't patent a plant. And so, from a monetary standpoint, it may take, $500 million. And, if a drug manufacturer is going to come up with that they can't patent a plant. But here we are in a situation where we can potentially get multiple states, get up to, 7,000 potential patients, that will help you get from phase one to phase two. And then you can get that, those longer trials. And then we're talking about other things, potentially, when you're talking about the black spot in people's scans from PET scans, things like that, and PTSD, potentially, if we can expedite the process here, taking it from 10 years down to maybe 3 to 5 years, with this, you have children that have ACEs, and we've had testimony up here before where they've shown scans of that. I think Mental Health and Substance Abuse has shown scans of PET scans of people that have ACEs. If we can do this and start this way, potentially we can find a cure and help those with ACEs. And so, for me, that's why this drug, why now?
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate all the desire to help our veterans, and that's certainly worthwhile. Our suicide rates are skyrocketing for veterans. We're in the suicide belt. We have the largest opioid addiction problems in the state because our state was one big pill mill, and we had more opiates prescribed here than any other state in the country almost. So unfortunately, our attorney general at the time during the opioid abatement settlement wanted to settle early and settle for a lot less than we ultimately got, thank goodness, for a lot of other attorney generals, so that we actually have those funds to conduct things like this. But, if we're talking about helping veterans, if we want to focus in on that, which is great, I'm concerned about, okay, if this gets down the road, it costs this gentleman $8,000 plus travel. Is this going to be an affordable option for our veterans? Right now, our country's cutting medical services for veterans hospitals and veterans across the country. Is this even going to be available to our veterans? Are they going to be able to afford this? Are we making a worthwhile investment in bending over here and going the extra mile for something that's actually going to be accessible to the people who serve our country and matter, and are being used to kind of push this legislation through? I just want to make sure that if we're taking this extra step, it's actually going to benefit the people it's intended to benefit. Because right now, too few people have access to services. Too few people have access to substance abuse treatment because parity laws aren't being supported in the country, and funded for veterans is being cut. So I just want to make sure if we're doing this and going this extra mile, that we're going to come back on the back end and actually fund this and make sure people have access to health care and these types of treatments if it does the work that we're being led to believe that it does. That's my concern.
Thank you. Chairman Hill.
Thank you, Chairman. And this is just a series of quick questions for the sponsor. But before I get into the questions, I again restate what I shared a couple of weeks ago when we first saw this bill before us. I have no opposition to research, and I have no opposition to research of Ibogaine or anything else that deems to be helpful. What my concern is, and you'll see this in these questions of the sponsor, is the relationship of the relationship that we're creating with the market through this legislation. So, and this is a question for the sponsor, just broadly, and I think you touched on it a little bit, but why can the market already do this? Because we're creating a council and we're creating a push, and I think a well-intentioned push. I think it's for the right reasons, as best I can tell. But we're creating something. Why can the market already do this without state intervention?
Chairman.
Thank you. And again, I think sometimes, the market is often driven by profit and not necessarily driven by leadership or driven by patients or patient needs. And so obviously when you go through a FDA trial and this medication or this plant, you have to go through the FDA investigational new drug authorization. So that's another process on top of the FDA trials. And so now you're talking $500 million that they can't patent a plant. And so I think that's a barrier to some of the market getting into this. And so I think that's why, obviously with states, we're seeing this in our patients and our veterans. And so that's why the states are getting involved.
Thank you, Chairman. And if we, to follow up on that, from my basic research, and again, it's very basic, but there's private entities that are already doing this type of research with ibogaine derivatives. Gilgamesh Pharmaceuticals, Dalix Therapeutics, Atai Life Science, they're already in the marketplace going through the FDA trials with a derivative of ibogaine. So what my concern is, one of my concerns with this legislation is are we creating a state-sponsored competitor to these private companies, not these three specifically, but if there's so much interest, which I believe that there is, and I believe, again, that it is well-placed, to try to do the research and try to figure out how we can be helpful and get a drug to market that is safe and effective and is viable. So there's that part of it. But if we pass this legislation as it sits and as amended, I think it creates a council and a behavioral health fund and all these things. But who owns the intellectual property? Because we're going to go through these trials and we're going to hopefully get things passed and do good things. But who owns it? Who owns the IP?
So to your first question, asking about, the competition, I think that it would be synergistic with that. And then obviously to the previous chairman's discussion about costs, I think that would expedite this and could bring costs down. And as far as the IP, that may be a question that Ms. Harris may have to answer that question if you need that out of session for us to answer.
We will go out of session again, and if you will introduce yourself, who you're with, and respond to the question.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Jeffrey Lawrence. I'm Research Director at the Reason Foundation. We're a libertarian think tank. So the idea behind this multi-state consortium is that Texas kicked this off with a $50 million appropriation. It's a grant and the grantee, in order to qualify, must bring at least matching funds. That grantee is a research consortium that includes a research university as well as a private drug developer who will be the one who technically submits the IND, investigational new drug application, to the FDA. They will have ownership technically over the resulting intellectual property, but member states who participate in this multi-state public-private partnership would be able to participate in the profit sharing that results. So not direct ownership, but just like if you go form an LLC or partnership, you could have a profit sharing agreement that differs from technical capital contribution.
Chairman Hill.
Thank you, Chairman. Again, I'm going to try to go quickly. So the product, if you will, is owned by the consortium. Is there a plan in place to commercialize it? Because just doing the research isn't good enough, right? Doing the research over a period in time, it's eventually going to be handed off to someone who puts it in a pill or puts it in injectable, takes it to market, goes, serves a bunch of people, undoubtedly in the United States, makes a bunch of money. That's how pharmaceuticals work, right? So is that step already decided, or we're just not there yet?
So I think there are a couple challenges here. In order to commercialize a drug, you have to go through the 3 phases of FDA trials. Then you submit a new drug application. From when it's approved, you're allowed to then market that drug and claim that it has a medical value. The profit portion of that usually comes from the fact that the compound is patented. And so a drug maker has kind of monopoly powers and can price accordingly for a limited period of time. In this particular case, the product is not patentable. And so that kind of profit opportunity is not there because the intellectual property is technically in the public domain.
But the leaf may not be patentable, but the derivative is. So, correct? So, similarly, marijuana is not patentable, but Marinol, which has been around for 40 years, is. Correct?
Yes. So I think there's also been a miscommunication on whether or not the plant is certainly not patentable because it doesn't meet the novelty standard. There have been alkaloids of ibogaine that have been patented in the past. Particularly ibogaine and noribogaine, have received a patent for opioid use disorder in 1985, which expired more than 20 years ago. That patent was awarded to a single individual who did not have a company behind him and never placed it into clinical trials. So now it is in the active molecules are in the public domain, and for that reason cannot be patented.
Thank you. Chairman Williams.
Thank you. What number are you trying to achieve before you get started?
I think, Texas has put $50 million into this. On average, it takes about $1.1 billion to bring a new pharmaceutical to market in the United States. If you get breakthrough therapy status, you can roughly cut that in half. Every state dollar that's going into this is going to be at least matched by the private drug developer. So the partnership of states ultimately would need to come up with around $200 million or so. There are 2 states already since Texas passed theirs. In the last month, we've had West Virginia and Mississippi both pass legislation like the one that's in front of you. Arizona has also appropriated $5 million with a match. There are about 10 other states currently considering bills like this. So we believe that between this year and next year, we'll have enough states on board to make this a viable partnership. And I want to speak to one more aspect about why states are getting together to do this. And that's kind of a very novel approach because when there's a medical value to a compound that's in the public domain, normally that research would be undertaken by the National Institutes of Health, NIH. NIH cannot do that in this particular case because ibogaine is a Schedule I compound. And as a result, the federal statute precludes any federal dollars from going toward research. So this can only be done through a partnership of the states.
So your low number is $125 million from the states. Your high number would be $500 million from the states. To go back to my original question, how much money on hand do you have to start to facilitate this expeditious methodology in the bill?
So far, the only appropriations have been the ones in Texas and Arizona, which combined to $55 million, again, with a private match in each case. So that's a start, but doesn't get us all the way there. I will note that Texas appropriated general fund dollars, but that doesn't need to be the case. The multi-state master settlement agreement for opioids allows the development of novel therapies as one of the uses of those funds. And so we have several states right now that are looking at using a portion of their opioid settlement funds, so it doesn't impinge on their budget.
Is there any agreement between the states and this consortium that Tennessee's veterans will be those in the trial for treatment?
So the trial design must be approved by the FDA. And all states who are participating in the consortium must follow the same parameters. And so every state that signs on to the agreement would basically be a remote trial site. And so when you appropriate, when you send Tennessee money, that money doesn't go to Texas. It stays in Tennessee. You have trials here. And so you could have local citizens who are the participants. That's the idea. The FDA actually likes geographic diversity. But who the subpopulation is that participates, well, they would have to be the population that suffers from the condition that's being tested. So if that's opioid use disorder, it would be people who are suffering from that condition. If it's for traumatic brain injury, that would probably be mostly veterans.
Okay, thank you.
Chairman Kumar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. You've answered the question regarding public domain, so if that product is not patentable. However, at this time, the product that's being used, is it a purified form and is it going to be further refined?
So yes, I think the IND, investigational new drug application for this project has not been submitted yet. So that is, I think, up in the air, but the idea is that it would be a synthetic version of a compound that naturally exists in a plant. So there is a botanical pathway that the FDA has, but only three drug applications have ever been approved through that pathway. So the FDA definitely has a preference for synthetic versions.
Okay. So those synthetic versions, of course, will be patentable. Okay. I was hoping that nothing's more patentable develops and the original thing goes on to the market, and that would open and make it easy for a generic pathway.
Oh, yes. So these, unless it's a very different version of this compound, which I don't expect, I expect it would be noribogaine, that cannot be patented because it's already received the patent and the patent is expired. So it would be a generic version. That's part of the kind of public policy problem that needs to be overcome here, is that in order for to incent a private developer to invest into this, they need to have some public help because they would not be able to have monopoly control over the patent.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman Clements.
Yeah, so who is this private company or manufacturer that is going to put up 50% of the money?
So great question. That is still in procurement in Texas. It has not been decided yet. So it would be premature of me to say that, but I know there are at least two leading contenders, one being Gilgamesh Pharmaceuticals was mentioned earlier. I think Sonera Bio is another company that is in the bidding at least, but it has not been awarded.
Follow up?
It just seems to me that you've got somebody out there wanting to make money off this, and they're wanting a couple of states to pick up the tab for 50% of the tab on this thing and circumvent the FDA process. It's some of these things just aren't making sense or adding up for me for some reason on this business side of things. So that's my question. Thanks, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other questions of our guest, Chairman Hill?
Thank you, Chairman. So as we as a state, join the consortium, put the money in, and the consortium pairs with and yet to be named or unnamed pharmaceutical company or someone else, and this is a capital raise. This is what we're talking about. The part of what my concern with this bill is, again, is not the research, is not Ibogaine, but it is the structure of this as a business. Ladies and gentlemen, we are, with this legislation, we are creating a state-sponsored biotech. We have never done something like this that I can find. And I'm not saying that this body isn't going to approve it and this body won't find it valuable, but just understand what we are undertaking here. We are creating a business relationship using the force of tax dollars to go with an unnamed, yet to be named partner. What happens, and this is my question, what happens if the state invests $5 million like some of the other states and undertake it and we can't get through the trials? Do we recoup our money?
Yes, the money would not be available. It would revert if the FDA, for instance, does not approve the trial design for a phase 1 trial. Then there would be nothing to spend the money on.
In section,
You're recognized.
thank you, Chairman. In one of the sections of the legislation, the amendment as it was written, it specifically talks about the state will recoup no less than 2%. And I'm assuming that's upon commercialization is the whatever comes out of the trials from the research side of things. Is it the expectation that the check is going to be written from the yet to be named pharmaceutical company? That's where the 2% is going to come back to the state. Is that
That's correct.
That's appropriate? I think, and thank you so much for being here. And I appreciate the interest of everybody that has come to testify. I really do. But my concerns are, they are what they are. And I thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Any other questions of our guests? Thank you for your testimony. We will go back in session. Representative Capley, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. Originally I was against this piece of legislation. I shared similar comments and concerns with my friend from East Tennessee. But I've thought about this for a while, and what I'm about to say, I'm not looking for a pat on the back or anything like that, but my dad did 28 years in the United States military, did 7 tours, Iraq, Afghanistan, had a Bronze Star. I've told many of you this before. I'm an Army brat, grew up in a military family. He had crippling PTSD, was 100% disabled. If you've never experienced somebody that has that level of TBI and PTSD, if you've never held someone down at 4 o'clock in the morning when they were screaming, you don't really get it. You don't really know what it's like. And I'm not directing that at anybody. So about 4 years ago, and I didn't even realize this until the other day, I was going back through some of the things that I had. I tried to get my dad to go to Mexico to get Ibogaine. And he didn't. He refused. He didn't want to pay the money. He funny enough, he actually said it was a hippie drug. So that's almost 2 years ago now, my dad had a psychotic break and left, and I have not heard from him since. So I don't know if this was available. Maybe he'd still be around. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Representative Lynn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to call the previous question.
Previous question is called. Seeing no objections, we will be voting on House Bill 2075 as amended. Would the clerk please open up the vote? All those in favor, vote aye. Opposed, no. Has every member voted? Any member want to change their vote? Would the clerk please take the vote?
Mr. Chairman, you have 18 ayes, 3 nays, 0 present not voting.
The ayes have it, and the bill will move on to Finance, Ways, and Means.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Committee. All right, thank you. That brings us Back to item number 7. House Bill 1979 by Chairman White. You are recognized.
Thank you, Chairman and committee. I appreciate you letting me bring this before the committee. House Bill 1979. It does not have any amendments, so I think we're good.
Your motion
Okay.
second. You're recognized.
Thank you very much. I think it's the only bill I have that doesn't have an amendment. What
Congratulations. That's a feat.
Yeah. What I bring before you, this is a concept we've been working on for years, trying to find a pathway. As y'all all know, as I go around the state, one of the things we hear all over the state is the affordability and the availability of childcare. So what this House Bill 1979 is an attempt to address that. We've worked this through the Department of Education and Department of Human Services over the years, and now we've come upon this concept. It's called the Promising Futures Fund Act. As you say, for the past several years, we've been working on different versions of Promising Futures legislation to address child care affordability and availability in our state. This bill is a response to a challenge we are constantly hearing. Working families need but frequently cannot access affordable quality child care. There are two primary drivers to this problem. One is the childcare industry, the labor shortage is very hard. Childcare compensation is weak, and it isn't competitive with other industries and job opportunities. And so the turnover is high and the labor pool is small. And the second issue, one of the problems is childcare tuition costs many times as much as in-state tuition, which makes it unaffordable for many of our families. The majority of working families cannot afford it, resulting in many young families unable to make ends meet on basic household expenses. So what we're proposing in this legislation, this bill takes fiscally responsible, thoughtful steps towards solving these two problems by using strategies tested and proven in other states. And here's what the bill does. First, the bill establishes what is known as a Promising Futures Fund, and it would be supported, depending on the Finance Committee's looking into this, supported by the dedicated revenues from the vape industry and possibly the hemp-derived cannabinoid products, looking at those funding mechanisms. Second, the fund builds on Tennessee's Smart Steps Child Care Payment Assistance Program, which is currently limited to low-income families, and extends it into our middle income also, which also struggle. And third, the fund supports two targeted, time-limited 3-year pilots, a child care workforce scholarship pilot to support the recruitment and retention into the child care labor workforce. One thing to do this is the strategy used in many states covers child care tuition for parents who opt to work in the child care industry as they have their child in the industry, in the child care. And number two, it creates a care share Tennessee to promote employer voluntary investment in child care for their employees. The strategy is also used in many states and often referred to as tri-share model. And so what I like about this legislation, we've been looking for avenues to address our child care to aid our workforce and our families around the state. This would be a beginning of a framework that we can put in place. We've been looking for many years. And with that explanation, I just renew the motion and for consideration.
All right. Do we have any questions for the sponsor of the bill? Representative McKenzie, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You had spoke on this, the income level of the recipients increasing. I don't see it. Well, what's the max income of the person being eligible?
Chairman White, you're recognized.
Thank you very much. I'm going to have to look that up. And by the way, Mr. Chairman, I do have TQEE who's been working this. They're here. If we can be the will of the community, maybe go out of session to address some detailed questions like that, if it's the will of the committee.
All right. If there's no objection, we'll go out of session. Oh, I'm sorry. They did not sign up to testify.
You did not? Okay.
Go back into session.
Okay. To answer that question, I'm going to have to look it up and get back with you. I did not write that down in my notes today.
Okay, yeah, I don't see it in here, so thank you.
Chairman Clemens.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And who's the third-party administrator that's going to get the contract?
Chairman White.
the third-party administrator for the contract for,
Says it's going to, the department's going to contract third-party administrator and vendor. I'm just curious who that is.
Chairman Clemens?
thank you. My apology, I do not have that in my notes either. I apologize for not having that before me right now. I was depending on our TQE to be up here to address these. What it is, we're attempting just to put in place a model to where we can address the child care shortage. But, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to have to get back with the Mr. Clemens, Representative Clemens.
All right, do we have any further questions for the sponsor of the bill? All right, seeing none, will the clerk please open the board for the vote? All those in favor vote aye, opposed vote no. Will the clerk please take the vote?
Mr. Chairman, you have 14 ayes, 0 nays, 3 present not voting.
All right, House Bill 1979 passes and moves on to government operations.
Thank you, committee. Now I get answers to those questions for the two representatives.
All right, thank you. That brings us to item number 8. Representative Hicks, you are recognized. You have a motion and a second. And on House Bill 658, and I believe you have a timely filed amendment and an untimely filed amendment. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman. The
Okay.
timely filed amendment is 015579.
Okay. You have a motion, a second. If there's no objection, let's go ahead and put that on the bill. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, and what's the number for the second amendment?
The number of the second amendment is 016997.
016997. I have a motion to adopt. All those in favor of consideration, say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay. If there's no objection, all those in favor of adopting, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. We're on the bills amended. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The second amendment only takes lidocaine out of the bill is what it does. That's just a simple explanation. This bill ensures that when a medical emergency happens on the field, a licensed athletic trainer is on site and can act immediately. It allows limited life-saving care under physician supervision and strict protocols. And importantly, it clearly states athletic trainers are not practicing medicine or acting independently. This is about faster response, stronger guardrails, and protecting student athletes. I ask for your support.
All right. Thank you. Do you have any questions for sponsor of the bill? Okay. Question has been called. We're voting on House Bill 658 as amended. Will clerk please open up the board for a vote? All those in favor vote aye. Opposed vote no. Will clerk please take the vote?
Mr. Chairman, you have 17 ayes, 0 nays.
All right. House Bill 658 passes and moves on to calendar and rules as amended. And will the legal services roll those amendments into one amendment?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, committee.
All right, thank you. That takes us to item number 9, House Bill 1972 by Chairman Farmer. You have a motion and a second, and we have an amendment drafting code 015699. Is that correct?
That's correct.
You have a motion and a second. If there's no objection, let's go ahead and get that on the bill. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We're on the bills amended. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, what this bill does, if the federal government were to reclassify cannabis from a Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, this would trigger effectively that the General Assembly would have the sole discretion on how we move forward with cannabis in any way, form, or fashion. That's what it does.
All right, thank you. Do we have any questions for the sponsor of the bill? All right, seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 1972. Will the clerk please open up the board for a vote? All those in favor vote aye, opposed vote no. The clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 18 ayes, 0 nays.
House Bill 1972 passes and moves on to calendar rules as amended. Nope. Moves on to judiciary as amended. All right, that brings us to item number 10, House Bill 684. You have a motion, a second, and you have an amendment, is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, I believe it's 14642.
14642, you have a motion and a second. If it rewrites the bill, if there's no objections, go ahead and get that on the bill. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. We're on the bills amended. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, what this bill does, it would allow for and provide that when folks are released from prison, that they would have an application ready, handed to them so they could apply for SNAP benefits, supplemental nutrition assistance program. So we want to see that folks coming out of prison, once they've done their time and pay their debt to society, that they're well equipped. We also passed some legislation a few years ago that provides that they would have access to birth certificate so they can get a driver's license and be ready to get a job and work and kind of get back into society. So that's what it does. I move passage.
All right, thank you. Any questions for the sponsor of the bill? All right, seeing none, the clerk, please open up the board for a vote. All those in favor vote aye, opposed vote no. Will the clerk please take the vote?
Mr. Chairman, you have 18 ayes, 0 nays.
House Bill 684 passes and moves on to Finance, Ways and Means as amended. That brings us to item number 17. House Bill 2571 by Chairman Kumar. You are recognized. You have a motion and a second. And do we have an amendment? Okay, let me find it here. Where is it? Here we go. Drafting code rewrites the bill, drafting code 015777. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. No objections. Go ahead and get that on the bill. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. On the bill's amended, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, this is House Bill 2571, basically to address the physician shortage in the United States and in the state of Tennessee. U.S. needs at least 125 more physicians. In Tennessee, we are also short by about 18,000. In addition, it also addresses the matter that as many as 4,600 U.S. citizens went to medical school abroad last year to offshore medical schools. So this provides a pathway to attract them into Tennessee to come and practice. They, of course, have to be graduates of medical school, pass the licensing exams to practice in the United States, and have a visa and as necessary. We were the first nation to open such a pathway in 2023, and since that time, many other states, especially Texas, Alabama, and Florida, have taken the initiative. What we asked was that these qualified physicians, after they pass the USMLE, that is United States Medical Licensing Exam, they come and work in 2 years in a training program setting, and if the performance is satisfactory, then get a license to practice. The difficulty was that in Tennessee, we had limited number of those facilities, training programs. So we did not benefit from that greatly. Texas and Florida went ahead and opened it up to federally qualified healthcare centers, rural health clinics, community centers, and other approved programs, as well as working in a specialty clinic under a board-certified physician. Thank you. I know it's late. Thank you. So this bill accomplishes the same thing. Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right. Seeing no further questions for the sponsor of the bill, will the clerk please open the vote? Vote on House Bill 2571. All those in favor vote aye. Those vote no. Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 17 ayes, 0 nays.
All right, House Bill 2571 passes and moves on to government operations as amended. That brings us to item number 18, House Bill 2569 by Chairman Kumar. You're recognized.
Thank you. Members, the current law in Tennessee requires that hospitals offer flu and pneumonia vaccines to patients older than 65 years at the time of discharge. I mean, who are 65 and older at the time of discharge from the hospital. This bill moves that milestone to age 50 because the viruses have changed and mutated, and the criteria as advised by the national bodies, advisory committee, and so on, have also changed. So vaccines will be offered to people age 50 years or older at the time of hospital discharge, along with the flu and pneumonia vaccines. They are not required.
All right. Do we
With
have
that,
All right. Thank you for the explanation. Do we have any questions for the bill? All right. Question has been called. Would the clerk please open the vote? All those in favor vote aye. Please vote. Opposed, vote no. Will the clerk please take the vote?
Mr. Chairman, you have 16 ayes, 0 nays.
House Bill 2569 passes and moves on to calendar and rules.
thank you.
And that brings us to the next bill, item number 19, House Bill 2562 by Chairman Kumar. You have a motion and a second. You are recognized. Excuse me, 2572. And
Thank you. The amendment is 015170.
motion and a second on amendment 015170. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, ayes have it. Back on the bills amended. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And members, this addresses the problem of a long-standing opioid curse that we've had in Tennessee. Prior to initiation of the 2011 and 2017 Pain Medication Reform Acts, there were as many as 350 clinics in Tennessee dispensing opioids. That number has been controlled and is cut down to 114 now. Although we were able to control that part of the equation, however, we are not able to control the supply of these medications that is available on the street. House Bill 2572 reforms pain management clinic licensure laws, authorizes the Department of Health to determine criteria to identify high risk prescribers. Those are prescribers that give too many medications and then the patients have too many overdoses. They are subject to chart review and investigation, and the results of such investigations are published. Certain other convenient practice changes are made by this bill so that a physician who is a high volume prescriber and they take the certified training and stay clean for 2 years, then their record is expunged. And it also allows for better clinical working conditions by permitting short-term substitution of medical directors without having to file a report with the Department of Health. With that, gentlemen, I renew my motion.
All right. Thank you. And any questions for the sponsor of the bill? Seeing none, we'll be voting on House Bill 2572. Will the clerk please open up the vote? All those in favor vote aye. Opposed, vote no. Will the clerk please take the vote?
Mr. Chairman, you have 16 ayes, 0 nays.
All right. House Bill 2572 passes and moves on to calendar rules as amended.
Thank you.
Chairman Hicks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know I'm out of order, but on behalf of Representative Hill and myself, I do want to recognize our district attorney from the 3rd Judicial District that has entered the room. Would you please help us make Mr. Dan Armstrong feel welcome?
Thank you for joining us. That brings us to item number 20, House Bill 2093. You have a motion, a second. Chairman Williams, you are recognized. And
I think I have drafting code amendment 014393.
014393. I have a motion and a second. If there's no objection, it rewrites the bill. Let's go ahead and put it on the bill. All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. On the bills amended, you're recognized.
This bill as amended would just ensure a level of fairness in contracts between MCOs and nursing homes. That move adoption.
All right, any questions for sponsor of the bill? All right, seeing none, clerk, please open up the board for a vote. All those in favor vote aye, opposed vote no. Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 17 ayes, 0 nays.
All right, House Bill 2093 passes and moves on to government operations as amended. All right, and that brings us to item number 21.
Motion.
House Bill
Second.
2259, and you have a motion, a second, and Chairman Williams, you are carrying this bill. You are recognized, and we have an amendment. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Drafting code 015993, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, you have a motion, a second. If there's no objection, let's go ahead and get that on the bill. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, ayes have it. Back on the bill as amended, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman members. This bill is in response to the Castillo and Rex decision of the Supreme Court. It just clarifies good faith discussions between physicians and patients whenever there's a challenge associated with their health care. With that, Chairman members, I'm happy to answer any questions that members might have.
All right, are there any questions for the sponsor of the bill?
Question on the bill.
All right, seeing none, will the clerk please open up the board for vote on House Bill 2259? Afterwards, please, all those in favor vote aye, opposed vote no. Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 17 ayes, 0 nays.
All right, House Bill 2259 passes and moves on to counter rules as amended. Chair Lady Carringer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm just, it's not, I don't confidential or anything, but just wanted to let Chairman Hilton Haynes know that we're all thinking about her. The reason she's out is her brother's having open heart surgery and still in surgery. And so I know she would appreciate us to continue to remember in prayers, because when they do come out of surgery from that, there's several days there that's very critical. So just if y'all can remember her and her brother, her family, and your prayers as the days here go for recovery and all.
All right, thank you, and I appreciate you doing that for her. All right, that brings us to item number 22, House Bill 1991. Chairman Hill, you're recognized, and you have a amendment, I believe, drafting code that rewrites the bill, drafting code 016722. Is that correct? All right, you have a motion, a second on that. If there's no objections, go ahead and put that on the bill. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, ayes have it. On the bills amended, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This HB 1991 as amended aligns Tennessee code to the reality of how the modern dental offices work flows. And it's been agreed to and worked out by the Tennessee Dental Hygienists Association and the Tennessee Dental Association. And pending any questions, I seek passage.
All right, any questions for the sponsor of the bill? All right, seeing none, let's vote on House Bill 1991. Will the clerk please open up the vote? All those in favor vote aye, opposed vote no. Brock. Will the clerk please take the vote?
Mr. Chairman, you have 18 ayes, 0 nays.
Calendar and rules. Okay, House Bill 1991 passes and moves on to calendar and rules. All right, that brings us to the end of the calendar, and I'm going to pass the gavel.
Good deal. We're bringing in Mariano Rivera for the closing here today. So the last bill of the session.
And I have drafting code.
We got House Bill 2380 before us. Chairman Terry got motion and second.
And amendment drafting code 016817.
Got a motion and second. All those in favor of adding the amendment, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. You are properly before us, sir.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee. This clarifies the enforcement mechanism for Tennessee's existing protections regarding abortion-inducing drugs. Current law, which is the Tennessee Abortion-Inducing Risk Protocol Act, already restricts the unlawful provision of these medications, and this bill does not change that. However, the enforcement tools were not clearly defined and did not have meaningful civil penalties. So current law states the Attorney General and reporter may bring an action to enforce compliance. This bill simply provides the Attorney General with a clear mechanism to enforce those existing protections and establishes proportional civil penalties when the law is violated. So it creates a $10,000 civil penalty per violation, and when a violation results in serious bodily injury or death, it is allowed up for $1 million penalty. Each instance in which an abortion-inducing drug isn't lawfully provided counts as one separate violation, and I renew my motion.
Mr. Chairman removes his motion. Any questions from the committee? Questions been called. All those in favor of House Bill 2380, press aye when the clerk opens. All those opposed, no. All members have voted. Any members wish to change their vote? Ms. Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 14 ayes, 4 nays, 0 present not voting.
The ayes have it. House Bill 2380 moves on to judicial.
All right, thank you much. And before we close this out, I do want to take a moment to thank all the members of the committee. There's a lot of thought in the subcommittees, both subcommittees and the committees up here, a lot of discussion. I appreciate the work that everybody has done and what everybody does to put these bills in shape that they need to be in. And thank you for your dedication and flexibility. Sometimes, we move things around. This year is a little bit different. We move things around a little bit more, try to be efficient. I'd like to thank our committee staff, Bart Kenner, Heather Asbell, Chris Yates, Alexa Anger, our committee interns, Abigail Neely, Anthony Griffin, our clerks, Emily Hawkins and Haley Bishop, and our sergeant at arms, Dedrick Grimes and Donnie Williams. And Chairlady Carringer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. And I just wanted to say thank you for all your hard work for this year. And you ran a great meeting today. We got through it all. I can't believe we're closed. So sounds good. So thank you for all your hard work and everybody's commitment on this committee.
Well, thank you. And I truly, it is an honor to serve amongst everybody in this committee and an honor for us to serve the people of Tennessee. So with that, we are closed to the call of the chair. All right.